And welcome to this video about one-point perspective. So how do you start drawing one-point perspective? I'm going to be first showing the interiors followed by the exteriors. So for the interiors, always start with a 10 feet wall. The human eye level is at about 5.5 feet from the ground. You can mark that on the 10 feet wall. The point might lie somewhere around here, and this will be the vanishing point. You can extend the edges for the walls and the floors like this. Now what if you had to draw a bench? A bench is a 3D object, so how do you go about drawing that in one-point perspective? So the first thing we do is draw a cross section of this bench on the wall. The height of the bench is around 1.5 feet. So using those measurements, you can estimate the cross section. Once we have the cross section, we can extend the lines from the vanishing point. Once you have extended the cross section, you can decide how long the bench can be. So what did I do here? Once I had the cross section, I made horizontal and vertical lines which give the width of the bench. Also notice that the horizontal and vertical lines are unaffected by the vanishing point. Only the angled lines seem to converge to it. So now let's move on to exterior views. Even for an exterior view, you have to draw a 10 feet wall first. And again mark out the vanishing point as before. Once we are done with that, you can draw the edges of the road. So if you wanted to draw buildings, the height of a floor is about 10 feet itself, and that's why we had taken 10 feet wall as a reference before. So now we can use this 10 feet wall as a guide for the floor height. So if you wanted to draw a street lamp which is at an height of 30 feet, you can use the 10 feet wall's reference, triple the measurement, and then use the guidelines to complete the street light. So now let's move on to ants and bird's eye view. So basically we are trying to draw how an ant or a bird would perceive things around them. So we have the 10 feet floor again. So for an ant, the vanishing point will lie very close to the floor. Observe how the interiors of the same room is much more different when seen from the eye of an ant. So now for a bird's eye view. This usually applies to exteriors. Let's say the bird is flying at the height of 40 feet. So when we make the 10 feet wall, you can quadruple its measurement and get the 40 feet height somewhere around here. And from here, you can draw the rest of the lines to complete the road and the buildings. You can start practicing one-point perspectives by making drawings like these. So here you can see how the horizon is tilted. Most of the horizons we see for one-point perspective is at 0 degree, but by tilting the horizon like this, it adds a lot of dynamic interest to the composition. Also observe that the road here is curved and not straight. In this question, you are hiding beneath a cot on which your grandfather is seated. You can see your friend's feet in the courtyard. So you can see the presence of the viewer through the hands in the bottom section of the page. In the top section of the page, you can see the framework of the cot. Also, you can see the legs of the grandfather since he is sitting on the cot. Observe the use of wrinkles in the skin to depict his old age. Now, since your friends are in the courtyard, you can make the assumption that they are barefooted because mostly you don't wear footwear in a courtyard. A ball is shown in the composition which depicts that you and your friends are playing. Also notice the use of textures. Wooden textures have been used, textures to depict cloth of the cot, the textures on the soil of the courtyard, and also bricks. In this example, you can see interest has been added by adding foreground elements such as cement bags and tanks. You can also show background elements such as in this case it's the machinery. In this scene, your presence is shown through a mobile phone which is displaying maps. Now, since you are in a travel bus, this helps to convey the same. In this question, you are at a scene of a flood. So now you can see that the viewer itself is submerged inside the water. So you can see partly underwater and partly above it. And that adds much more interest than having the viewer completely outside water and just seeing above the surface. You can also use domestic animals, dogs and cats, along with humans in your composition. In this scene of a busy marketplace, the more humans you add, the more livelier the composition will look. Keep in mind that the humans you add should be of different sizes and ages to make the composition look more livelier. Show them doing different actions. So in this question, you are a bird seated in your nest. You are looking down at two children and one of them is about to throw a stone. So again you can see the presence of the bird shown in the bottom section of the page through the nest and the claws. Also, you can see the branches in the bottom right and in the top left sections. That helps to convey that the nest is placed on a branch. Also, if you remember, in the previous video about human anatomy, we discussed about drawing humans from top view and from the bottom view. So here you can see the use of drawing humans in top view. In this question, you're seated on a merry-go-round in an imaginary amusement park. So I wanted to depict that the amusement park goes so high above the ground that you can see the earth below it. Hence, the vanishing point is strategically used to convey the same. In this question, you are an ant on the edge of a spoon at a dining table. So you can see the presence of the ant in the bottom left section of the page, where there is the edge of the spoon, the legs of the ant, and also the reflection of the antennas of the ant in the spoon. Also, interest has been added through wooden textures and the patterns on the plate of the edges. Notice the elements that have been added such as the clock, the photo frames, the curtains, which helps to convey that this scene is taking place inside a house. If you see the right section of this composition, there is a sort of a doorway which leads to another room. Now since the room is far away from the viewer, it is shaded with a crosshatch texture. Doing this will add more depth to the composition. So that's it for this video. See you in the next one.